3, 2, 1. Hey! Welcome back to the 7th episode of Now We're Talking. And today we have Conor Shiel, young entrepreneur, digital nomad, full-time cryptocurrency trader, and all-round nice guy. Nice to have you on the podcast.
That's what you think, my friend.
Seriously, thanks for coming on, man. Seriously. The reason I wanted to speak to you, Conor, is because I'm really fascinated with people who set up their lives in ways that are just outside of the norm. You know, obviously jumping from 9 to 5 out to becoming a digital nomad. Last night you brought us out around Barcelona. It's an incredible place. When did you decide to make the decision to move from 9 to 5 working in Ireland to becoming a digital nomad and working for yourself and moving out of the country?
Well, I suppose the way I'd answer that is it's twofold, right? So there are two separate decisions in terms of like when do I want to become an entrepreneur and when do I want to move out of Ireland. Completely separate. So since a young age, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. Like honestly, since from a get-go, I always, for many a reason, I think, you know, when you're attuned to what's going on in the world, you can kind of sense there's a small bit of, you know, there's something not quite right with the 9 to 5 in terms of it doesn't afford you the life that you would ultimately want or the ambitions you may have as a young kid. Like I suppose when you were a kid, no one ever dreams about, oh, I can't wait to work for, you know, Deloitte for 50 years, then retire and, you know, whatever. So it was always the back of my mind, listen, I kind of inherently knew that if I wanted to live the life that I ultimately wanted to live, I couldn't do it for the 9 to 5. Also, I kind of had a grasp of, listen, my skill sets, the way they kind of fall is I can't be stuck in a cubicle and told to do the exact same thing all day, every day, and become super proficient at that one thing, and then be, you know, an asset to the company. That's just not that's just not where my skill sets fall. You know, I'm more of a problem solving on a daily basis, looking to build. I like to be tied to, you know, nearly on a commission base to my input versus output. And then, so that's where the entrepreneur was always going to happen. And then also, my father, he's a brilliant entrepreneur. So I suppose I was surrounded by it. And then I had some brilliant influence when I was from a young age. You know, there was, you know, we're from Ireland, the two notorious guys that everyone knows and love or hate them, but the two guys, happy pair. You know, I grew up in Greystones. They're in my town. They're brilliant entrepreneurs, very positive. I saw that the life that they're living is, you know, from my perspective was brilliant. So, you know, from a combination of realizing that I wasn't going to afford myself living the life that I wanted to live as working the 9 to 5, realizing that it's a small bit of a scam, and then also being surrounded by people, seeing it come into in the world, that you know, I suppose seeing it around me, by my surroundings, that, you know, this is possible and it's 100% doable. That's why I want to become an entrepreneur. And then secondly, why do I want to move out of Ireland? Well, you know, remember that thing called COVID? Remember how fun that was? Yeah. So imagine being locked in fucking miserable apartment by yourself for a long time. Like you know, monks go off to formulate their opinion. They isolate themselves from society, and you know, COVID did that for me. I was in my little cave in Bushy Park, Terenure, isolated, left to my own thoughts, which can be a good thing and a bad thing. But you know, it made me realize, listen, Ireland is brilliant. It affords many opportunities, but there's all, you know, the world's a big place and you need to explore it. And I came to Barcelona because, you know, in terms of Europe, I grew up by the coast. I need to live by the coast. I also like the city. Like when I moved here, I was 28. That Barcelona has, listen, it has the beach, it has a city, it has a perfect combination too. It also has one thing that, you know, is brilliant about Ireland, which is, you know, in Ireland, everyone's mates with everyone in terms of the barista is mates with the entrepreneur, mates with the football player, mates, you know, it's a brilliant community. And Barcelona definitely affords that too for people in terms of everyone's friends with everyone. Now, you do get that elsewhere in societies, but I found, say, for example, Dubai for me was a small bit isolating. It was like the Emiratis, the super wealthy, the wealthy, and then there's this, you know, this tiering system that you have between let's just like Indian, Pakistani community there that I didn't like that. I didn't vibe with that at all. So long answer to your question.
Oh, it's brilliant.
Yeah. The reason why it is, I just wanted to explore the world. I knew that there was, you know, I always wanted to retire in Spain, so I kind of jumped a few steps, moved here, and then built up a life around it.
Yeah, and at the moment, for the people who are listening and watching, we're actually in a place called the Social Hub in Barcelona, and it's essentially a place for young entrepreneurs to come and be able to avail of all these incredible, like we're literally here right now. This isn't the podcast studio, this is the Social Hub. This is incredible, being able to, they have a gym, they've got pools, they've got, you know, nothing but access for people to become entrepreneurs. It's absolutely brilliant. Even walking around the city last night, like I was like, I texted my girlfriend, I was like, this is it, man. We're moving. Get ready, pack your bags. So One of the other main reasons I wanted to speak to you because we're both massively into cryptocurrency, right? For people that don't really know the journey that Bitcoin has been on over the last few months, you know, if you go ask the average person about Bitcoin and you ask them for the price, they're just going to tell you arbitrary random numbers because they don't really understand, you know, what it represents and what it is. You know, so it's actually gone on a run from hitting the bottom of 15 to 20k up to last night it hit just under 70k, which is absolutely insane. It's an insane amount of money. Looking at the opportunity of crypto moving forward for yourself, where do you see Bitcoin going in maybe the short to mid term, and what's your strategy to capitalize on the next move coming in the next 6 to 12 months?
Yeah, brilliant question. And I think before I delve into it, I want to distinguish between Bitcoin and crypto because they're nearly two separate things in the sense that, you know, crypto, most people have apprehensions about crypto and for the right reasons in that 99% of it's pretty much a Ponzi scheme. And it is that. Like, there's no ifs and buts about it. There is that. Now, the technology, the reason why Bitcoin is so appealing is because, you know, you're seeing, like, to understand Bitcoin is very simply, right? You know, the money that we currently have today is you don't own it. Like, you don't own your money. Your money is in your bank. You think you own it. You don't own it. You're loaning it out to the bank at like a 0.0000%. Like, if the bank's crumbled and crash and you, hey guys, I'm sorry that you crumbled and crashed, but I want my money back. They'll be like, you know, hey Luke, sorry man, we don't have it all. You know, so you don't actually own it. Then when it comes to, you know, making transactions, you know, they're slow and they're clunky in that if you want to send, let's just say for example, if you want to send 10 grand or you want to send 50 quid over the weekend, it takes 3 days to send. Like that, it's your money. You should be able to send it whenever you want to whoever you want. So and then finally, you know, they're printing money like there's no tomorrow. You know, the US dollar has lost, in 3 years' time, it's lost like 30% of its value. Meaning if you had 100K in the bank, the purchasing power of it now is now at 70K. You know, it's ridiculous. So I like to distinguish between Bitcoin and crypto because, you know, I truly believe in the technology of Bitcoin, the blockchain that it is, being transparent, being that it's a scarce asset, that there's real value in Bitcoin. And then in the other crypto, you know, the reality of it is, whilst it's a brilliant concept and it's all backed by this blockchain technology, and for people who, if they don't know what blockchain technology is, was basically it's just you know, transparency accounting. You know, you don't know who owns the different nodes, but you can see all the transactions across the network. So the technology is brilliant, and it can be applied to pretty much nearly anything in this world. So whilst the technology is fantastic, I'm distinguishing the two because, again, beyond Bitcoin, and maybe there's a small bit in gaming, there's some real world tangibility. Everything else is just all hypothetical. And like, you know, the way speculative assets work is it's a plus and a minus in the sense that, listen, when it's a speculative asset, people throw money at it because, you know, it's very hard to evaluate, you know, what it's actually worth because you haven't really seen it work or it hasn't paid out money yet. So as a result, then, you know, a lot of money is actually coming into cryptocurrency. So I suppose Bitcoin, I think there's going to be a long-term value for it for the very reason that I mentioned there. The three reasons, meaning that you own it, it's easy to transport, and it's deflationary. So for those three reasons, Bitcoin's fantastic. Additionally, you know, we're seeing more and more, like, you know, I don't know how deep down the rabbit hole you want to go, but we're seeing more and more that governments want more and more control over the eyes of your transactions, what you're doing. You're seeing the European, you know, the EU saying that, listen, any cash transactions over $1,000 are just not allowed. It's like, what the hell, man? Like, you know, it's my money. I should be allowed to spend it. I'm a law-abiding citizen. I pay taxes. I should be allowed to spend it as I please. But they're trying to get more and more control. If you walk through the airport with, you know, a bar of gold, you know, you're going to get stopped. You know, and they're going to ask you. We need to see all the receipts of where this came from. If you walk through the airport with 10K, 100K, they're going to take it off you like that because they're going to assume that you got it through illegal means. Like, this is wild, you know. So where Bitcoin, it's on a like little device. You have it. You can send it to anyone, anytime. The transactions done are super quick. They're super cheap to do. So it's a win-win on that side. Now, crypto as a whole, my strategy for success in crypto is I like to my personal strategy, why it's been quite successful, like you're in my trading group, like we've done in the last say 4 months alone, like it's done like nearly 8x, which is incredible. And like I don't put it down to, I don't consider I'm not a genius. I'm just playing in the right pools, and the pools that I like to play in are the ones that are going to outperform the market. And crypto is, because it's again it's a speculative asset, it hasn't shown real world tangibility. Where so the pools you want to play in are the ones that are going to have around the best narrative behind them. Yeah. And what has brilliant narrative? Well, in the last cycle, gaming had a brilliant narrative, and all gaming coins went through the roof. This cycle, what I personally believe in is AI. You know, you're seeing ChatGPT, you're actually seeing AI come into the world now and shown real world application, and it's bloody brilliant. And that combination with the crypto and AI, it's just brilliant. So I like to obviously, you know, my less risky investments like would be Bitcoin. Obviously, I think it's a brilliant investment there, store of value. But then if you want to be a bit more risk on, you know, AI is a fantastic niche to look into and explore, and that's what I've been doing, and that's what I've seen a lot of success in recently.
For somebody, let's just say, for example, they wanted to follow your footsteps, right? Maybe they're in Ireland or they're in a country right now that it's not serving them, right? Their currency is being inflated to infinity. They're not really sure what to do, but they want to follow in your footsteps, which is maybe move to a country that has a little bit better lifestyle, a little bit, you know, the cost of living is down, the quality of life is high. You know, what would you recommend for someone to get into your position if they were starting maybe 3 years ago where you were?
Yeah, 100%. I think, you know, education is a complete scam in the sense that it taught you to learn, like it's a memory test at the end of the day, and it just teaches you to be fucking generic at pretty much everything, right? Whereas what you need to do is you just need to find a skill set. It can be carpentry, it can be website design, it can be whatever. Become good at it, make yourself competent on it. Ideally, if you can get it online, then you can afford yourself to live anywhere, anytime, and that's brilliant. That's what I did. So I would say, find a skill that you have somewhat of an interest in. Maybe you've got an aptitude for it. Maybe you're good at, like, you're a creative person, you might be good at design. Maybe you're good at numbers, you might want to do what I do. Like my main job is a day trader, and then, or else whatever it may be, hone in on those skills, put in the time and effort. There's a million courses out there that cost, like, one of the best courses that I ever did in my entire life. I'm still part of it. It costs 50 quid a month. And then also everything's on YouTube too. Like YouTube is the biggest educational platform. Use it to your advantage. Whatever you want to learn, double, triple, quadruple down on that skill set. Become as best as you possibly be at it, and then you'll become value to other people and be able to live the life you want to live. Again, you know, you see 16-year-olds become hyper wealthy because what they do is they found a niche, they double down the skill. Maybe they got into website design, and then they niche down on that website design, became the #1 website builder for doctors in their area, and they were able to just scale that to the moon. And it's as simple as that. It doesn't need to be complicated. It's not a scam. It's very, very doable for any single person. And I think not even the lie that people live in a small bit of perpetual fear, in that, you know, you honestly think that the safe option is, if I work a 9 to 5, it's a safer option. You know, I'll live, you know, listen, the rewards aren't great, but at least the risk is lower. And I couldn't think the complete opposite of that. I think the risk is completely shifted, in the sense that you're seeing companies fire people like there's no tomorrow for, you know, their profits are down 1%. They just let, like, an entire marketing team go. Like, you're not safe in a job. Also, then if you want to increase your, you're not safe in a job for that reason, in terms of, like, you know, how valuable you are to the company. Like, I don't know, like how, but also then in terms of, like, your pay. Like, best case scenario, you get an increase in salary once a year. Best case scenario. And, like, at most, what's going to be 10%? We know, like, the real inflation in Ireland, like, last year was 10.9%. Like, what the fuck, man? Yeah. Like, you need to start thinking a bit more, like, how do I scale, and how do I separate either my time from, my pay from time, or how do I increase the value of my time whilst I'm working, you know? So that's what I'd say to people is, listen, like, find a skill. Double down and triple down it. Ideally, in a sense, if it's online, brilliant, because it will afford you to live in places where you want to visit. You can go traveling whilst also doing your job. But if it's carpentry, whatever, you know, everyone needs carpenters, you know, and you can apply that. Everyone needs plumbers, everyone needs whatever, teachers, and you become hyper good at that, whatever it may be. So double down skill, and then you know, just live the life that you ultimately want to live. Live wherever you want to live, and then as a result, also, yeah. Sorry to make this so long-winded, but it has so much positive effects, is that, like, when you do these kind of things, and when you are not tied within the confinements of a regular job, in that you can really kind of like, you can work weekends and you can try to increase your, output. You kind of like, it has this, amazing positive effect on your own self, because what happens is when you're striving to be better as a person, and when you're working for yourself or working on a skill set, and you're seeing, the increased effort that you put in have a real world tangible effect on the quality of your life and how much you get paid. Everything in the world makes a bit more sense, and you feel a bit less depressed. It becomes a bit more simple. Oh, if I work hard and if I'm disciplined at what I do, I'm seeing like a direct correlation between the output that I ultimately want to achieve, and it's just phenomenal.
And it's uncapped as well, right?
Uncapped.
That's the main thing that brought me towards cryptocurrency and brings me towards fitness and brings me towards self-improvement in general, just because it's uncapped, right? It's something that I can strive for every single day. And we know that a lot, I don't know, like for male happiness, I know that purpose and having purpose every single day is one of the most important things. If I miss the gym, or if I'm not trading, or if I find myself just being hedonistic and just watching Netflix or chilling out, which I rarely do, but like if I do that, I find myself becoming more depressed over time, right? But I also feel like the reason that a lot of people do fall into instant gratification is just because the environment, right? Their environment is a lot of stress. They're not getting out what they put in any way, shape or form. And as you said, you're able to come over, say somewhere like Barcelona, have your own skill and scale it. And then that means that you're going to get ahead over time. You've also built up a skill for yourself. So if you build up in a company and that company fails or you get let go, you're kind of back to level one. So just move on to the next topic I wanted to speak to you about. So we ran through your move to Barcelona, crypto, what people should do. So you're not just running crypto at the moment. You're not just trading crypto at the moment. You're also running, is it 2 businesses?
Yeah. So it's really, honestly, a really exciting time. So my day to day. So the way my routine works is like, so typically from I get up roughly around 6:30. From 7:30 to 12, I do my day trading, and I know for my kind of mental capacity, that's the best time for me to trade. And day trading, for people who don't know, is you're trying to, you have these, it's not fancy, it's actually super boring. You have a particular system in place and you look to see that system set up every single day, and you try to pull money out of the market. High risk, high reward. So that's that's one aspect of what I do. I do also the long-term investing, and I have a crypto group that I run for free for friends and family. And that's just my long-term plays. And then I also, what I have done is, through the day trading, I've invented this algorithm, and I've partnered with, I don't really have much of a social media following. Now, this is the first kind of podcast I've ever done. I've gone to certain events where, people have obviously, anyway, look, I've never explored this kind of influencer thing or trying to gain social clout. So I partnered with someone who has in the trading space, who has over 100,000 followers, and I've sold my algorithm to him, and we have a share of the profit. So I've made this algorithm where people can essentially use it for if they wish to day trade, and it's on a 5-minute time frame, which means it's hyper scalable. Because say for example, some people may have trading strategies where every 4 hours it hits or every 2 days it hits. So the compounding effect is it just takes more time, longer to scale your returns. Whereas the algorithm that I made is it identifies pullbacks in a long-term trend, and it happens in the 5-minute time frame. And I've coded this, and I've also then partnered with I've affiliated with someone who's got a large following to ultimately sell that. So that's kind of the trading aspect that I do. And when I delved into the side of trading, when you're working for yourself, trying to live globally, the big question that kind of comes across people's minds is, oh crap, where do I pay tax? And if you want to pay tax in Europe, or pretty much any country in Europe, whether it's Germany, Ireland, UK, France, Spain, you are going to get done for. You're going to be taken for everything. So myself and my partner, Stephen, our mutual friend, we set up this company called Freedom Formations. And essentially what it does is it helps entrepreneurs, freelancers, consultants, people who ultimately, who work for themselves, have businesses, establish in geographies where is a lot more tax positive, in that you can pay 0% tax, live anywhere, anytime, and we've built up the best process from start to finish, the complete hand-holding experience, where it's a super professional service, because we're both entrepreneurs ourselves. We're in this space, so when we want this kind of thing done, you want it done right. You don't want the if and buts about it. You want it done in absolute terms from start to finish. So with myself and Stephen, we set up this company called Freedom Formations. We help people establish in either Bulgaria, because many people don't know this. Obviously, Bulgaria is part of the EU, and also it has the lowest tax in the EU. So it has a flat 10% tax. If you're a freelancer like myself, The way it works is you get 25% write-off. So if you're earning 100K, you get taxed 10% of 75, 7.5% tax for the year. 7.5K tax for the year, which ultimately works out 7.5% tax. Then there's also other options. Hong Kong. Hong Kong, you pay 0% tax. You never have to visit Hong Kong to set up. You don't actually need to even use Chinese banks. So that's some all apprehensions people have. So anyway, we've streamlined the entire process for setting up in those two places, because as a result of being entrepreneurs ourselves, trying to find a solution to the problem we were currently having, there was no solution out there that we saw that was a really good fit. So we set up this company called Freedom Information. So that's where my time is split between essentially the crypto day trading side, and then I'm also trying to run the operations. Also am running the operations for Freedom Informations, and thoroughly enjoying it, because the reason why I got into entrepreneurship wasn't necessarily the money. Like, whilst we kind of talk about the money, we're kind of mentioning it more so as like, you need to get to a certain level pretty quick in order to afford the standard of living our parents had. And that's, once you get to that level, the more kind of like the reason why you explore entrepreneurship is freedom. Like the freedom to travel where you want to travel, where you want to travel. So the reason why it's called Freedom Information is it allows you to formulate a company where, it affords you the least amount of tax possible legally, and then enables you to live the life you want to live. Like, because freedom is honestly, I would put freedom ahead of money every day of the week for myself. And I'm sure for 99.9% of entrepreneurs, that's why they do it. They just don't like being told what to do, or whenever, and we come from Ireland, right? People don't realize the walls and restrictions and freedoms you once had in a country like Ireland, a country like the UK, France, Germany, all these places that were, the pinnacle of, society at a point in time, are now falling apart in real time. We have laws coming into Ireland where you can't say what you want to say. They call it the hate speech law, but it's ultimately the censorship law. Whereas if we have opposite opinions on something, and I send a distasteful meme to yourself, I can get thrown in prison. Like, it's just wild. They can search my phone, throw me in prison. So how much freedoms do you actually have? We think we live in the West, we can say what we want when we want. We can't. We can just say what they want us to say. If you speak out if you take a disagreement to, the narrative that it may be, whether it's, you don't like, whatever it may be, I think we all know what I can allude to. I won't allude to it, but we all kind of know. But if you decide to speak out about that, you will get, publicly sanctioned, and then also now legally sanctioned for such a thing. So, we help people who are based in such countries, help them, look at different options to ultimately increase their freedom. So it's been, honestly, a lot more fulfilling than the trading side of things. I love the trading side of things because, I've got an aptitude my background was, I did a master's in, data science, business analytics, human psychology, which is brilliant for the trading, but I have a greater aptitude for pattern recognition, which is brilliant. And I like to think I've got decent emotional control. But I suppose the more fulfilling side of my work is this company setup that I do, is Free Information, because young entrepreneurs like ourselves can essentially ultimately live the life we want to live, because the easiest way to increase your bottom line is just reduce your tax, because you're paying in most countries 50 to 40% tax. If you reduce that down to 0%, well, man, that's a year's saving plus, probably 3 years saving in 1 year.
Yeah. And if you combine that with moving to another country that's actually cost effective as well, now you've got double your amount of money, and then you also have a lifestyle increase on top of that as well.
Yeah, actually so funny. So over Christmas, I kept annoying the lads back home. I was like, when I went home, I could not believe I paid for coffee like £4. I pay €1 here. And like, how do you really measure inflation? Well, rent, price of a pint, and coffee, and then price of fuel. And like, I was just seeing, wow, 4 times the price of coffee back home. It's even more. If you want to get a coffee and a croissant, which I do every morning, it's only £6 back home. Here it's like €2. It is insane.
It's absolutely insane.
You don't get your bang for your buck. You need to increase your purchasing power.
Yeah, and another thing is that a lot of our generation are also, I say this all the time, where at home you have a choice. You can stay and struggle, you can leave and set up a new life, or you can be superhuman, and that's it. They're the only options, because how is any regular person supposed to afford a 400, 500 grand house that's only going up over time. It's only becoming more expensive over time, and your wages are not catching up with that. How is it? It's not possible. You're literally locked out.
Remember when you were a kid and you think, wow, a million euro house. You think like fucking mansion. You think this guy's living like, he must be a professional football player, whatever, living the dream. Now it's a regular house. A €1 million house is like, a regular 4-bed in a nice area in Dublin.
So you have to become superhuman. And this is the thing is, I even noticed from my own financial goals, it's like I'll reach a financial goal again that I thought was, oh my God, if I had this amount of money, this would be insane. And then you pay your taxes and you look at it and you're like, okay, it's not that insane. Okay, I need to increase my my standard for myself. But the reality is I'm just trying to keep up with a standard that I have absolutely no control over.
I don't know. It's apparent more than ever. You really need to think about the life you want to afford, and maybe it might not be in the country where you grew up.
Yeah, true. How do you distinguish between the difference between maybe a country moving forward and this is just regular progression of a country where we need to accept maybe new ways of living, and what's maybe an attack? How do you distinguish that? Because I mean, if I'm a young person, right, I'm 16, 18 years old, I haven't lived a long enough life yet, I haven't had enough reference experiences in my life, I might just look at maybe the rules coming into countries and just think, well, we need to, be more accepting, they're less conservative. How would you distinguish, or how do you, is it an internal feeling? Is it like,
No, honestly, that's a really good question. And there's a million ways to answer this, but at the end of the day, I'm completely accepting of everyone. Everyone should be able to live whatever life they want to live as long as it doesn't bother anyone else. I think pretty much 90% of people in modern society agree with that, right? So how do you measure societies are on the up and ones that are maybe on the decline? Well, to live in a society that's going to be somewhat prosperous, well, the first thing you need is law and order. So is crime increasing or decreasing? That's very simple. And I think we can all collectively agree that's a very, very good base to start, because listen, if you feel safe, well then you don't. It's one less thing to be considered about. You can focus on looking to improve in some kind of realm. But if you're living in this fearful mindset, having to be concerned about the safety in your own home, well, it's quite difficult to be prosperous, because under the Maslow's theory of hierarchy of needs, well, food and safety is like the very primary stuff. So you can't afford yourself to think about, looking to grow your income, things like that. You're looking to, keep yourself safe. So safety is one, and then other things economically, just like, look, is the GDP increasing or decreasing? Is the average salary increasing or decreasing? Because, I personally want to live in a society where someone who works as a very good job, a very important job, like a teacher, a nurse, whatever it may be, they can afford a good standard of living. Like, if they can't afford a good standard of living, like, why would you want to live in a society where you have to, even if you were this hyper wealthy individual, where it's like this, the have-nots and have-yots. That's not a nice society to live in. No. So I'd look at can the average person working, very important jobs that maybe don't pay as well, can they afford a very a decent standard of living? And they're probably two kind of like.
And the most important people in our society, people we need to keep society going, if they can't live, how are we supposed to have a society in general, right?
How can you be on the same team if one part of the team is clearly not living? It's really fucked up.
Such a good answer, man, because that Maslow hierarchy of needs, any time when I was growing up that I felt like that my basic needs weren't being met, I felt like it was much easier to manipulate me. That's how I felt. I felt weak. I felt like I don't have any choice. So even when big decisions come up, maybe it's a vote, maybe it's a decision to move country or whatever it is, I'm in a losing position. So it's really hard to move from a losing position into a winning position, because once you have your standards met and you do start to go towards the yachts in your life, you start to realize that even if you did become extremely wealthy and you're living in a society that's falling apart, you're going to leave anyway. You're going to leave regardless. So yeah, that's fascinating.
So I work, obviously, Freedom Formations. We help people set up tax. We see who's leaving, right? And obviously all the hyper wealthy people are leaving Germany. So much to the point where they have now a new tax in place where it's an exit tax. Never had that before. Why are people leaving Germany? Well, listen, crime has gone through the roof. Taxes are as high as ever. If you're the average person, what do you really get for your taxes? In Ireland, say, for example, we used to get a good educational system, and then at least you were contributing to society that you could get behind. Now that's not the case. It's your taxes aren't going to something that you would actually get value out of. And in Germany, we see so many people want all the hyper wealthy people, which is when you see people who have lots of money leave an area because of safety concerns, and then also these ridiculous tax laws, well, they've got all the money, which it's not all the money. They've got a large chunk of the money that would usually prop up an economy. So they're now taking all those funds and propping up another economy. So where the hell are they going? And they're going to places like, we all know them, like more safe locations like Dubai and different areas. And again, it's purely because like Europe has fucked up so bad, where it is, our tolerance has gone past the point of diminishing returns, where regular cities like London has become the stab city of Europe. Sweden is now nearly the rape capital, or like in the top rape capital of the world. Like, it's bizarre. Up there with South Africa.
It's like we're living in like the upside down or something.
What the fuck has happened in the last 10 years? So yeah.
I do think that the lockdowns had a massive effect on the mental health that we're still paying for now. I think that whole situation just really sent us off course. I'm not saying we were perfectly on course before that, but I definitely feel afterwards there was a complete change of tone in the world for some reason. Well, not for some reasons, obvious reasons, right? Yeah. So when you were younger, right, so obviously, like, from speaking to you, you're very well spoken. It seems like you've really educated yourself. You've actually put the time in to learn this stuff. Like, this doesn't just come naturally, right? You have to go searching for the answers. When you were younger, before you were out experiencing life, was there any particular experiences that you had that made you realize, oh, like, this is a scam, or this is something that isn't right? Or did you have maybe a mentor, somebody that was teaching you? You said your dad was an entrepreneur, right?
No, necessarily. I didn't have a mentor as such, but what I did have was like sport. So I think for every single person, guys or girls, I think, even say, for example, like women who do quite well in corporations, pretty much all of them are brilliant athletes. Like, I know personally, my previous manager in Facebook, she was a tremendous GA player, and also obviously hyper successful in the corporate world. So for me personally, like, I played sport at a decent level, and even to this day, like, sports are so important. And what that teaches you is, it teaches you that it's if you lose, you can pick yourself back up and you can go again. And it also teaches you, if you put in the work, the discipline, you have the discipline, you can achieve great success. And also, a football game, a rugby game, whatever it may be, it's like, it's life condensed into a small period of time where you have 80 minutes to really fucking put in the hard yards, and then ultimately you'll get the reward at the end of it. And I suppose sports for me is just so fundamental to my success. You see pretty much anyone who's successful, typically they've got like a decent diet, they achieve maybe decent level of sport in their younger life, and then they've continued that through into their older life. And it's given them, as a result of working on a team, you learn how to work together with a group of people for a single goal, and it also gives you a tremendous amount of quality if you do achieve success. It's like, wow, like, no, I am actually important. I am a member of this team, and I helped get that victory. Or so, sports was honestly hugely fundamental, and I've
to humble you too, right? So because like your ego is going to be, if you are who you say you are and you go out there and you achieve it, okay, fine, you've become in alignment with your ego, right? It's like, I am the best or whatever. But for the most part, when you try something new, or you're trying to become fit, you're trying to set a fitness goal, or you're trying to set some sports goal, there's so many people competing to get to that level, to the point where you will be humbled. This is something definitely when I was younger that I never really had a lot of access to. I've done a little bit of karate when I was younger, maybe a little bit of football, but it was only when I started to get into maybe 22, 23 years old, and I started hitting the gym and started realizing, I was like, oh my God, I can build something outside of my mind. Because I felt like another thing that it really helps with is that when you think too much, like, you can't think your way out of overthinking, it's impossible. So I feel like the gym is like that little checkpoint mark where you're like, okay, cool, I've exhausted myself physically, it's cleared my mind mentally. And it's really sent me on a completely different trajectory. Even if I try some business venture, or I try a trade, or even if I fail a trade and I'm down about it, or I'm like, okay, I shouldn't have done that, hit the gym. If I had an amazing trade and I made a lot of money, well, then I go to myself, right, okay, calm down, let's like hit the gym. It's like really one of those things I wish I had started at a much younger age. Now that you have all of this information, right, you've got, we've gone through a good bit here, the fact that you've moved over to Barcelona, you're doing crypto, you're running businesses, you've been into fitness and sports since you were young, you're aware of society, what makes a good society, what makes a bad society in your eyes. Yeah. Now that you have all that information together, when you wake up in the morning, what is the schedule of someone like yourself, like Conor Shiel wakes up, and what is the most valuable activities that you do, and how do you set out your life to make sure that you have that consistent success?
the game changers are the most simple ones. So say for example, like I saw my success massively increase when I had a morning routine. And your morning routine can be so mundane. Like to give you an example, what I do is my morning routine is the way I kind of alluded to it earlier on. But like my routine in the morning is I get up around 6:30. From 6:30 to 7:30, I have my morning routine where it's like I have some kind of cold exposure, whether I run down to the beach, go for a swim, or I have a cold shower, or else I hop in the pool here. Then what I do is I do some kind of breath work, have a coffee, I play Sudoku to get my brain fired up, or have a game of chess, and then I write down what I should be doing for the day, and then I hop on the charts from roughly around 7:30 to 12 o'clock. After 12 o'clock, I go to the gym then. There's a beautiful gym right down by the W Hotel here in Barcelona I typically go to. After that, have a bit of food. I don't eat before, I do intermittent fasting. Again, I find, a bit of a psyop is having, a lot of food in the morning. It makes you a bit slacky. Sorry, all that glucose I don't think it's good for you, for mental clarity. And also, I find personally the fat falls off you when you eat for a certain amount of time a day, maybe like 8 hours. But anyway, from then 2 o'clock, I come back. I start doing a bit of work. I still monitor the charts because maybe the price action that I wanted to see, it's just taking a bit longer to come through. And then I work with Stephen on Freedom Formations. I maybe take a few sales calls. And then in the evening, I just chill. And what kind of the things I've knocked out of my life is, look, alcohol is a brilliant drug for celebratory stuff. In Ireland, we have a real connection with it. But alcohol ultimately it's a suppressant, it's a depressant. I find when I was drinking alcohol back home, it was numbing my nerves because I was so fucking frustrated by the clear weirdness going in society where you couldn't call the sky blue or else you're being called a crazy person, and I was using it as kind of like that rather than kind of tracking the problem. So I tried to avoid alcohol, and I work out every single day and I have my morning routine. So that's really been a great pillar of success in terms of my routine anyway over the last couple of years and months.
And what would your marker of success be in, say, for example, in crypto, it may be a winning trade, in a certain amount of deals closed through your Freedom Formations. How do you know if you've had a successful day versus when you maybe need to change your routine? Obviously, you might be aware of your weaknesses, and you've probably done that over time. But how do you determine that?
So for me, when it comes to day trading, as I kind of again alluded to before, it's like, it's not this artistic, hop in there, I've got a gut feeling. It's boring as fuck, man. Like I'm waiting for I've created through, seeing patterns reemerge that I have an edge in this particular time, in this particular bracket. So I'm just waiting for that edge to come through. So a marker of success for me is if I followed my system like a autistic robot. So if I did that, perfect. That's a real marker of success for me in a day. So if I didn't get kind of like, if my emotions were, relatively calm, smooth operator, if I worked out, my body's feeling good, if I'm eating right, one thing kind of like, sorry to like not to jump too tangentially, but like a large proportion of our food now is hyper processed, whether it's vegetables or meats or whatever. So I just try to eat right too. If I didn't have necessarily a cheat meal, if I ate good meats, ate good veg, didn't have any fast food, soft drinks, just drank water, had a bit whatever. So if you kind of had a day like that, as a result, then just naturally I'm happier. And then when I interact with my friends here in the social hub or elsewhere, I'm just a nicer person to be around. And then just overall, my sleep is better, everything is good. And you're either, typically in life, you're never stagnant, you're either spiraling up or down. And then naturally, if I follow those kind of principles, it's brilliant. Like say, for example, today, Saturday, still got up at, we went out last night, still got up at the time, still did my workout. Yeah. And as a result, that small bit of tiredness that I might have had in the morning is gone, Yeah.
100%. And again, you've set yourself up to be in an environment to make sure that happens, right? You're not moving, you're not jumping around, you're not jumping from place to place to place. You have a set place where you're able, obviously you have the freedom to go and do that, but for the most part, it seems as if from speaking with you, from seeing the results that you've had, is that you're able to at least create an environment where, the gym is readily available to you, you have good food available to you, the cost of living is where it needs to be, the people around you are giving you what you need socially. It's incredible, man. I'm really fascinated I genuinely am really fascinated by people that are able to set them up their lives this way, because I know that the hard work, as in it's easy to just sit here and say it, but the actual level of hard work that needs to go in, especially in the beginning, to get yourself on this trajectory it's impossible. It feels impossible sometimes.
Honestly, it is tough. But if it wasn't tough, then everyone would do it. You know, so that the rewards are massive. But like the thing when you're an entrepreneur, like I think an entrepreneur is such. I don't like using that word, but anyway, when you're working for yourself, you have your own company, right? When you have your own company, it's like the highs are extremely high and the lows are extremely low. And in both instances, it's quite isolating and lonely, because when you're at the lowest point, you can't really relate to the majority of people. And when you're at the highest point, you don't want to seem braggadocious or get in people's face, you know? So it is a lonely road, but it's also ultimately it's rewarding. So the reason why I've set myself in this environment is you do have like-minded people like myself. Even I've joined a lot of networks in the last couple of years. That's been incredibly good for myself, just to relate in that sense. But so it's like the highs are brilliantly high and the lows are quite low, but it's ultimately rewarding. And you just need to have the persistence to keep fucking knocking at it, and the self-belief, because no matter who you are, you can be successful in your own realm. I think, God, whatever you want, like if you believe in God or whatever the powers that be, karma, I think it gave you all the accolades you need to achieve what you ultimately want to achieve in this world. And if you haven't, they kind of like, there's a few hacks of the universe where it's like, some of them may be, we all know this to be true. Like, you are the average of your 5 best mates, like we all know that to be true, but we don't cultivate an environment for success in whatever may that be, whether you maybe want to have a family or what, or have a business. And then also another like hack is, if you actually try your best, it's not you might win, like you will win. Like if you try your best, I'm sure every single person has success in their life and they actually tried their best. Whether it was just even like a maths test that you previously got an F on and now you got a B, whatever it may be, you actually tried your best and you saw the results. So if you actually try your best, like there's no messing around. You will get the success you want, and it is 100% possible. And I do think, school really kind of like it kind of tries to dull us down, and it doesn't show you the true capability as an individual you have. And yeah, so I think you can just double down on it.
Jeez, man, whenever you have kids, man, they're going to be absolutely filled with knowledge.
I'm working on it,
yeah, oh my God.
I'm 30 now.
They're going to be jacked entrepreneurs by about 7.
Like again, like what am I saying? It's just I'm not focused on negative bullshit. I'm not trying to hang around negative bullshit. It's super simple. Where it's like, listen, people think that this person in your life, X, Y, or Z, he's just he's a small bit of a downer, and it's not his fault. Like that's just a bit of a personality. All fucking shit. Like everyone can be positive. You can choose to be positive or you can choose to be negative. Especially when you're in the shithole, when you're feeling horrible. We all know that it's shit, but you don't want to hear it. You do not want to hear it. You need someone in your corner that's like, yeah, man, like we know the realities of it. We're down. We're down by whatever 20 points. There's 15 minutes left in the game. We know that the likelihood is probably against us, but let's put in our best effort and try win this game. Yeah. And they're fantastic people to be around, because the opposite of that is just negative energy, and it's just negative energy. It's like shit, man. It stinks, and it's not good to be around. It's like mucus. Like you don't need to be around that stuff.
Yeah. I've definitely noticed that, because we became friends through crypto. Like that's how we became friends. This is insane. Shout out to Stephen Stapleton for putting us in the same chat, right? Yeah, but I've definitely noticed that those attributes, or maybe I'm not really sure what the word is, but your personality come out in these moments, right? Because the crypto market's 24 hours, right? So you never get a time off, right? It's not like it opens and closes. It's 24 hours at any moment. Like you can lose all of your money. That's the mind frame you need to be in, right? In order to be able to take on the risks, just to stay calm. But there's been plenty of times if I go through that chat, right, where the markets are going crazy, whether it's up or down, and I don't think it's you as much, but me and Stephen definitely need a daddy to come in and say, hey guys, just relax, we're moving in the correct direction. And me and Stephen are like, okay, thanks Conor, appreciate that, to keep us on track, because I would consider myself to be one of my biggest weaknesses and strengths is that I can be emotional, right? I can be emotional. I would say that I'm passionate. I'm very, very passionate, and I really, really care. So you have that one side that's passionate and care, but that can also be a massive negative thing to have in a market like crypto. So you have to learn to analyze and become a bit of like you're breaking yourself down. I don't know if it's a sociopath or whatever it is. But
just like, taking like, remove yourself from the emotion, take a step outside, go to the gym, get this energy out of your body, this whatever, this anxiety, whatever it may be, and then look at it from a calm perspective. I actually studied this. So I did a brilliant master's in UCD Michael Smurfit. And what it was a combination of essentially probability statistics, but then also behavioral psychology. And it's honestly we think we're this autonomous beings and we think for ourselves, but we're actually like much more monkey brain than you really think. There's like a few examples I can give to you, right? The reason why people get wrecked in markets is because there's this thing called prospects theory. And basically what prospects theory says is a loss is worth twice as much as a gain. So that's why, you don't, when you lose, say for example, in order for you the same feeling would be losing €1 is the same as winning €2. You just need to be conscious. I delved into this psychology. I'm conscious of even though I'm not perfect and I obviously make mistakes, but I'm more a bit conscious of these behavioral biases that we actually have. And as a result, I'm able to kind of take a more mindfulness approach when it comes to some of the trading aspect. I think because it's all of it's psychological too. It's pattern recognition, and then it's also your own psychological element, because any dickhead can read the charts, any dickhead can follow, signals, but it's the monkey at the end of the buy or sell signal that's going to either make you money or wreck you money. So often, I suppose, I as a result of having studied the behavioral side of things, it just helps me when it comes to this market side of things, and I'm also able to, and also, if you are getting hyper nervous, maybe you have too much money in there, because maybe what your body is telling you is, okay, fuck, I've actually invested too much money in this risky asset and I should reevaluate all the money I put on some shitty meme coin,
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. 100%. So back just on that point as well, was me and you could have the same coins, the same investments, but if our mindset and our experience is different, when we reach the same amount of profit, the more experienced trader is going to know to take the profit at that time, and the less experienced trader or somebody that hasn't got control over their mind as much is going to think that they're going to have a bias, right? They're going to think it's going to go higher. And this is what I noticed about the financial markets when I first got into them, is that it exposes every single psychological flaw that you have, and it's going to test every single psychological flaw that you have as well. It's going to test your conviction. It's going to test your fear and your greed in general, and then you start to notice that across other aspects of your life as well. This is where getting off the charts and into the gym really helps me, right? Because it allows me to distinguish both, because I can get really in my head with it. But it's an amazing experience.
I always say, if you want to find out about yourself, I think there's three. If you want to find out, who's at the very core of yourself, there's three things you can do. You can hop in the ring and learn how to fight, and put yourself in the deep end. You can, try approach women, because it's extremely intimidating for men, and most men just can't do it, because whatever. And then day trading, because day trading will expose whether you're a greedy dickhead or, you're very risk averse. You won't take the opportunities when you should take them, or you won't sell when you should sell, and it will expose it in real time. And then you need to work on those aspects, whether you're too greedy or too risk averse. It really is a mirror onto who you are on a psychological basis, and that's why when you meet most traders, they're just cool, calm people, but stoicism, living very simple lives. If you see traders online and living this lavish life in wherever Dubai, and they're saying, oh, we're making X amount of returns, bullshit, man. I know real traders, and they're living the most simplistic lives you can ever possibly imagine. And that's what I've tried to cultivate in my life, where it's listen, I've got my gym, my pool, my friends, my workstation, all in the one space.
That's your edge as well. That's trader's edge, being able to stay calm, right? Being able to keep yourself psychologically calm, because if you don't, the reality is that if you don't follow a routine and you don't stay calm and don't have a level of stoicism, you are going to get wrecked in these markets, because you need these attributes and these characteristics in order to become successful. Obviously, there's outliers, but in general, traders need that. You talked about cultivating, so obviously between a 9-to-5 job and becoming an entrepreneur, or working for yourself, as you would say, right? That gap of, I would say, maybe loneliness or building. You mentioned that you joined different groups of people, maybe like-minded people, and I know that for a fact that you joined the Luke Belmar's Capital Club. Yeah. I just want to see if you could tell me a little bit about that experience and what you learned from it. Was this, just a little, maybe your insights into Capital Club overall?
So kind of relating back to you're the average your five mates, I last year I paid over 20 something K plus to join these different networks, because you meet people who are, if you're the best within your circle, you're in the wrong circle. You want to really put yourselves into situations or circles where you can learn a lot from other people. So in regards to Luke Belmar's thing, so yeah, Luke Belmar he's got the generic kind of capital club where it's like this educational YouTube kind of thing for the mass, and then he had this capital club where he invited, I think it was 88 entrepreneurs down to Cartagena in Murcia, Spain, for a week-long event. And essentially what you had people who ran online businesses, brick and mortar businesses, were into trading like myself, who were at a decent level. And then as a result, we also had speakers, kind of like a conference you would go to. But it was really more of a networking aspect, networking thing. Like, yes, we had some really good speakers like, Mark Moss, Gary Brecka, like the names that we should all know. But the real benefit to being part of these groups is the network effect in terms of like, the money that I put into these groups and has made me back that plus some as a result of, there's people operating at a higher level and they act as, if you don't have a huge amount of ego, it's very inspirational, and then also they help you out if you do need help, and they've already solved the problems that you need solving for, so it's really blunt. And you can apply it to anything. Like you apply it to, if you're playing camogie or you're playing football or into boxing, it's better to train with the best, and that's what these groups are. And no matter what you do, whether it's you want to become the best cook, you train with the best chefs. You want to become the best trader, you hang around the best traders. Whatever it is, every aspect of life, it's always about trying to get yourself into the room where you can be of value to these people, and they're obviously of value to you.
Jesus, man, you've got your head like screwed on so well. I'm actually learning so much from this conversation. It's insane. I love it. Absolutely love it. So let's just talk about what your goals are from here. So you said you're 30 years old now, right? Just gone. 29?
Yeah, man.
What age are you?
You're 30 years old, just turned 30. And one of the biggest psyops I was honest, when I was turned 30, man, I was so, for guys kind of like, or in around the 30 bracket, or maybe they're 28, I was, for whatever reason, like 30 is like a milestone for a lot of people, but I had this weird idea that, after 30, it's all, life is over, as in like, you enjoy your youth. But for men in particular, life only gets better in terms of, like, I monitored my testosterone levels. They haven't dropped at all. My energy for life has only increased. I've become a lot more valuable as an individual since turning 30, between my experience, my more, maybe being a bit more wise, less childlike in my thinking, maturity. So like, I think being, age is a psyop in a way where it's like, you should never, like, you should try not to associate different levels of maturity to actually age. The correlation isn't there, because you can meet a wise man that's 19 and a child that's 36, and you see that all the time. So anyway, look, I'm 30 years old, so I think the question you're asking is like, what's for me next? Yeah. Is like, look, the kind of the question I'm trying to answer right now is, we talk about Barcelona being a great place, but I need to figure out where I want to live, and then ultimately we need to I want to build a community around that, because what I'd ultimately like to achieve is, like, I believe in the nuclear family. I like to have a family for my own self, and I want to raise my family in like a healthy society. And while Barcelona is great, you're also seeing like whispers of what's happening everywhere else, as in like crime's increasing. The police aren't really doing much about it. Not saying it's as a result of them. I think they've got their hands tied behind their back, as they do in most European cities. So like, listen, like, I was early to Bitcoin, I'm early to this too. Like, you're seeing early red flags of maybe it's not the best place to invest. Also, it's a small bit of a boozy culture, so there's other places when, like, brilliant for kind of your younger level of life, but if you want to be a bit more settled, there might be some other places too. So the biggest problem I have right now is trying to figure out where I want to live. And then it's also, I also don't believe in kind of like, I don't believe in Ireland and in most places, even if you want to have a family, it's extremely isolating. That, like, you have your house with your partner and you raise a kid and you spend, like, whatever, you have most of your time in it. Like what, typically say Muslim families or migrant families do when they come to countries like Ireland, England, wherever it may be, is like, it's something that's really brilliant in that they all live together in a really nice house, and they, as a result, then everything is divided. The house is divided, meaning you can live in a much nicer house. The cars are divided, meaning you can drive much nicer cars. And everything, like, you're hanging around the people that you already want to hang around with. So this element of community is just insane in terms of you're hanging around your loved ones, and as a result then your life is better from a security standpoint. And if you get sick, you've got someone there. If you want to have fun, your people are there to have fun with. And it's honestly, it's a win-win-win. I think it's a small bit of a psyop and a small bit disempowering to think that when you have a family, you need to isolate in your own home. It's like, I kind of more believe in, like, if maybe my brother eventually might want to live with me and he might want to have a family, or maybe, we might become good mates, and as a result, then we can live in like a four.
We're going to live in the social hub for the rest of our life.
I mean, as in, say, for example, like an average 2-bed apartment here is, let's just say it's 500K, but the average 4-bed apartment that's much nicer is maybe 700K. So you're already seeing, in that like basic analogy, you're already kind of seeing like your money go further. And then anyway, a huge aspect is community, because I want to ultimately live in a place where I'm surrounded by good, smart thinking individuals, because the world right now is becoming crazy. We're told we're not allowed to eat meat. We're told that we have to eat bugs, all this shit that, would have been like crazy to even like mention a couple of years ago, but you're seeing to come into fruition right now. Yeah. And we're kind of at the, I'm not the mystic Mac that's able to predict all these things, but it's pretty obvious. So like if I'm seeing these early signs in certain occasions, I'm trying to find personally a place or a society where I can live and afford a very decent quality of life right now. Maybe it is Barcelona, maybe it's elsewhere, I don't know. Then obviously, I'm vetting a few for, potential someone who I want to settle down and have a family with, that kind of thing. And then ultimately growing my businesses, because that's extremely fulfilling. But, growing these businesses, becoming like a man of means is just like you're becoming a competent individual, so you can be of value to your loved ones and the friends around you. And that's what I'm striving to be, because ultimately, naturally, that will just cultivate a very decent life and a very fulfilling life.
Yeah, it's perfect. Right. So my final question for you, okay? Come to the end now. I've covered everything we wanted. As a crypto trader, and we're looking at the markets moving forward, I would never personally have a Bitcoin prediction, just due to the fact that it's based off of where the market's going. It has loads of other signals. It doesn't really matter the price. But just for fun, within the next 6 to 12 months, where do you see the price of Bitcoin going from where it is right now, which is like 69K?
Well, yeah, again, I wouldn't, like, if you hear any kind of like tycoon or person on Twitter telling you like, oh, Bitcoin's going to hit this price, I'd honestly avoid them, because you don't know. Because like, again, Bitcoin is this new asset, and like money has nowhere else to go. And the easiest comparative for Bitcoin is gold. And like in the last week, gold has actually broken out of its previous range. It's now like kind of trading in around $2,200. And if you equate Bitcoin to gold, or it's the easiest thing in the world where you can actually compare it to, but it's actually better too. It's better than gold, and the reason why it's better than gold is if you want to store gold, they usually have it in a bank. You don't really have control over it. It's clunky to bring around. It's difficult to sell. Technically, they could always find more gold, whether an asteroid hits and it's full of gold, or they find a new gold mine. Whereas Bitcoin is better in that sense. So if you compare it to gold, if it becomes like 1/10 of the price of gold, I think it'd be evaluated at say 350K. I think everyone's calling for it to be 100K. But listen, it's already broken all-time high, and we all know the halving. The halving hasn't even happened yet. The bull cycle hasn't even happened yet. And you have these guys like JP Morgan, BlackRock, that just 4 years ago were saying it's like, look, Bitcoin is this thing where it's it's used for criminals and things like that. And they were just doing that to drive down the price so they could buy more, and now they're going to sell it at a higher price. So I would avoid price ranges that you're hearing everyone kind of talk around, which is like 100K. I think it's going to probably blast through that. And then as a result, just naturally, the entire market will blast through that in terms of the AI bubble. But when it comes to these things, you need to monitor price, because what typically happens in cycles is you have a big blow up, a natural retracement, whether that's 30% or even 50% in some of the altcoins, and then it has a go again. So when it has a go again for the second time, for the head and shoulders, just be conscious to get out the second time, And then also when it has an initial blow off top, know when it retraces, that's not the end of it. So don't sell all your bags, or sell potentially some of them, but then try to buy back in for the next run. And like, that's not financial advice, because I'm not a financial advisor. That's just based on historical price patterns that happened previously. Who knows what happens this cycle? Honestly, it could keep going up to the end of time. But what's probably likely to happen is it's going to go up, then it's going to come back down in the in the bear cycle, back down to a base of maybe 40k. So maybe it might hit 100, 120, maybe even 200. Then it's going to come back down to a base of 40k. Buy back in there because again, it is a brilliant hedge of inflation. It's better than gold in my opinion. You can actually store it on a chip. You own it for yourself. So again, I wouldn't. I really want to hone in the point is. The thing for people who don't know about crypto, they need to really understand that, again, 99% of projects fail and 99% of traders lose money. So you're playing in a field that you're kind of like the odds are against you. So you just need to be super conscious of that. And as a result, you need to follow basic technical analysis that has worked previously. Because listen, you might not pick the top, or you might not pick the bottom, but at least you're kind of somewhere in between and you're making money. And that's what you should just be conscious of. And there's some brilliant guys on Twitter and different realms on, like we follow them both and we talk about it. We use different sources that have been proven and they're clearly not profiting off selling you the next kind of shitcoin. So I would say refine your sources, but the biggest easy to know whether your source is full of shit or not, if they're calling out, say for example, the big one is XRP, right? Everyone's calling XRP to be $1,000 or $10,000. But everyone who knows about XRP already owns XRP. So where are all these new investors coming from? And that is the biggest
market cap wouldn't even make sense anyway.
It makes no sense. And the reason why they're calling it out so high is that you don't sell it when it breaks, the previous at decent levels to get out, like a good exit liquidity, because they just want to use all this retail to exit. Anyway, I'm not going to give an exact price, but I'll kind of give you. I'm trying to give you kind of like a mental framework to think about when you do kind of start to see things of maybe a topping pattern or topping indicators that you will look to take some profits,
Yeah, 100%. Shiels, you're a good man. Come here. You're a good man. Thanks so much for coming on to the podcast. Appreciate it.
Man, I loved it, honestly. Really, it's my first podcast I've ever done, so thank you so much for inviting me and look forward to the next time we do this.
You're a gent. Thanks. Have a good one.
Cheers, guys. That was good, man. How long was that?
I didn't want to interrupt with the hour mark thing.
Yeah.
That's whatever.
It was flown. Happy days.